All right, so in part 2, we're going to go ahead and create Unit 1. Then we're going to go ahead and create Unit 1 script. Then we're going to go ahead, create the enemy Unit 1. And then, last but not least, we're going to create the blue tank. Let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, let's go ahead and start creating blue Unit 1. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drag and drop him into the game. Let's go ahead and find him. Right over here to Art. Let's go ahead and find the blue Unit 1. This guy right here. Let's drag and drop him. Looks like he's on the wrong layer. Let's go ahead and see what 1 is. And to play it safe, let's do 2, and 2 should still be underneath the base. Perfect. All right, he's a little big. Let's go ahead and shrink him. Let's do 0.5. And then 0.5 as well. Still a little small. Maybe we'll do 0.6. 0.6. Over here. I think we could even go a little bigger. We could do 0.7. And 0.7. Awesome. That's fine for now. Awesome. All right. We're going to go ahead and add a couple things here. First, let's go ahead and let's give a name. This is called Blue Unit 1. There we go. All right. We're going to add a couple things. Let's give him a tag first. We're going to go ahead and do the blue unit tag. Perfect. Awesome. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to set a rigid body 2D. And we're going to go ahead and set the gravity scale to 0. And then we're going to freeze the Z rotation in the constraints. Perfect. Awesome. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add a box collider 2D. Let's go ahead and find that, box collider 2D. All right, and it's a little big, so let's go ahead and readjust it. So let's go ahead and hit the edit collider. And I'm going to shrink it a little bit. Let's go about here and then about here. And we're also going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and use isTrigger. Make sure that's triggered. Perfect. And another thing we're going to do is actually scroll out a little bit, and we're going to increase the Y of it to be a little bigger just because of how the game is going to work. Because if we get attacked from the lower end, it's still going to affect the middle guy. That's just how I want the game to work. Awesome. So make sure that's nice and stretched out. Perfect. All right. Awesome. All right. Looking good so far. Now in our blue unit, we're going to add a couple things. We're also going to go ahead and add a trigger. So let's right click. Let's go ahead and create empty. We're going to go ahead and just call this trigger. And this is basically when our unit gets to a certain point, he's going to start attacking. So simply I'm just going to put it probably just right in front, like about like right there. Yeah, you'll do like right there. Perfect. Make sure the Z value is 0 as well. Awesome. All right. We're also going to go ahead and we're going to create another thing in here. This is going to be the beam that actually comes out of the unit. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to right click. We're going to go to 2D object, sprites. We're going to go to square. Make sure the square is 0. We're going to go ahead and shrink this a little bit. I'm going to move it out a little bit here. And I want it above the player. So instead of, we're going to set that to 2. And I'm going to make it blue because this is the blue guy. There we go. Let's go ahead and shrink this up. I'm going to use the rectangle tool for this. I'm going to go ahead, make this go down here, make this go here, and then we're going to go ahead, shrink it a little bit. Let's go ahead and move it a little bit. And let's go about like there. And I'm going to increase the size a little bit more. There we go. Just enough so it hits the enemy right next to him. Perfect. All right. Now for this, we're going to go ahead and give it a new tag. We're going to add a tag, and we can add both of them here for the future as well. This one here is going to be called the Good Unit 1, capital W, weapon. And we're going to actually copy that, save it here. We're going to go ahead and do the enemy one here as well. Let's do the enemy so we can do that for later. Awesome. Let's go back to our unit, at least for the square we made. We're going to change that tag to Good Unit 1 weapon. Perfect. And we can change the name. I'm going to call this just beam. Awesome. All right, looking good. Now I think that should be good for that. Actually, no, wait, we got to add one more thing to it. We got to add a box collider 2D. And we're going to go ahead and make sure it's checked for collider also, or trigger right here. Perfect. Awesome. All right, make sure you got that down for the beam. Perfect. Now we're also going to go ahead and we're going to create another game object. So let's go ahead And you know what we can do is we'll just start from scratch. Right click. We're going to go ahead and create 2D object, sprites. Again, we're just going to do a square. I'm going to go ahead and change the square to our current player. Let's go ahead and find him, drag and drop it into our sprite. Perfect. It should be the same shape as everything. Awesome. All right. And simply enough, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change his layer to blue. All right. And then we're also going to go ahead, give it a box collider, 2D. We're going to make it, again, trigger. But this time we're going to go ahead and readjust it. And all I want to do this time is make it just go outward a bit more than the one we had before. So I think it was about here. And then, oops, looks like I missed it. That button again. We're going to pull it back. And to double check to make sure it's farther, then all we got to do is click on the original one right here. And there you guys see how it's farther. That's what we want. We could even make it a little smaller if we wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead, go down, and there we go. Awesome. And again, don't forget we want to make it as tall as well. So let's go ahead. And you don't really have to be precise with this, just enough so if he spawns in any of the 3 spots, he is also as tall as he needs to be. Perfect. All right, looking good. All right, so far so good. I like it. Now let's go ahead and create a quick little animation. So let's go ahead and click on the main blue unit right here. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and simply enough, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up some animations. So let's go to the window right over here. And let's go down to animation. We're going to need 2 of them. We're going to be the animation one and the animator. So let's go ahead, click on animation. I'm going to take animation and put it right over here. We're also going to need the animator. Let's go ahead and get that as well. And we're going to take animator and drag and drop it right here. Perfect. Awesome. All right, as for animation, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to create a new animation. The first one I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this one Blue Unit 1 Still. Awesome. That's going to be our default motion. And then we're going to create another one, create new clip. We're going to call it Blue Unit 1 Attack. Awesome. All right. So Blue Unit 1 Still, we don't have to do anything, but Blue Unit 1 Attack, we're going to go ahead and add some things. So at first, of course, we don't want our beam to be active, so let's go ahead and disable that. And we also want to disable the box collider of it as well. So let's go ahead back to our blue unit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure you're on the attack one, click on this little red button here, and we're going to go ahead and activate what we want during the animation when it's on. So at first, of course, we're going to activate our beam. So let's activate the beam and the box collider. And we're going to go all the way to 10, and we're going to go ahead and disable it, and then disable the collider as well. Awesome. And then all the way to the 1 mark over here, I'm just going to go ahead and activate it and deactivate it just so we have an endpoint. I want the whole animation to be 1 long, so basically we'll have some wait time in between the attacks. Awesome. All right, go ahead, disable that there. Perfect. And if you go to the animator now and make sure you're selected on the unit 1, you're going to see these 2 here. Make sure that this one is yellow. If it wasn't for some reason, go ahead, right click and set it as the default state. Awesome. All right, perfect. So far so good. I like it. And if we go ahead and hit the play button, currently everything should be working. Awesome. All right, in the next video, we'll go ahead and add a script. All right, let's go ahead and get started on the blue unit script. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So let's go ahead, make sure you're on the blue unit 1. Let's scroll to the bottom. Let's go ahead, add a component. We're just going to call this blue unit 1 script. Hit enter. Enter again. Awesome. All right. May take a second to load up. All right. Let's go ahead and double click it to open it up. Perfect. All right, some things we're going to add in here. Right underneath here, I'm going to go ahead and add some variables. We're going to start off with a public int, and we're going to call that health. It's going to be the health of our unit. We're also going to go ahead and do a public float, and we're going to call this move speed, which is going to be our speed of our unit. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a public animator. Make sure it's animator, not animation. All right. Then we're going to go ahead and do unit am is what we'll call it. Anim. Below that, we're going to go ahead and do a public int and do shoot distance. And that's just because I wanted it the same as the last one. That's basically just the attack distance. Then we're going to do a public, and we're going to call this layer mask. And we're just going to call it hit table layer. There we go, semicolon. Then we're going to do a public capital T transform. Oops. There we go, and we're going to call this fire point. Even though this guy's not really shooting, I'm just going to use that terminology. Awesome. All right, now we don't need anything in the void start. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Let's go ahead and jump on down to the void update though, and we're going to add a couple things in here. Starting off, let's go ahead and create an if statement. So if parentheses health is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to destroy capital D, and then within parentheses game object, because of course if the enemy's defeated, then we don't want him to exist anymore. Make sure it's lowercase g, semicolon. Awesome. All right, so of course if it runs out of health, it's going to not exist. Then we're going to go ahead and do a get component arrow pad. We're going to go ahead and do rigid body 2D. We're grabbing our rigid body 2D. This is just for the movement of the object. Dot velocity equals new capital V vector 2. Within some parentheses, we're going to do a minus move speed, comma, get component. Within there, we're going to do rigid body 2D. Give it some parentheses on the outside of that. Dot velocity dot y. Awesome. So this is basically just it's moving our rigid body 2D, which is attached to our main player object, and we're going to move it by negative moved speed, and that's because he's moving right. All right. And then of course we're just setting it to the Y because we're only wanting him to move from side to side, not up and down. Awesome. So let's go ahead now and create for the raycast, which is going to indicate when we're going to stop. So let's go ahead and do raycast, wherever that is. Raycast hit 2D, and we're going to call that hit. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to make that equal to physics 2D dot raycast, and then we're going to go ahead use the fire point dot position, comma, fire point dot right, because we're having it right of the player, comma, shoot distance, comma, hittable layer. Awesome. So all we're doing is we are gathering information of whether or not we are hitting something with our fire point and then our shoot distance, so like the distance of our fire point, and whether it's a hittable layer. Awesome. So once we have that, then we're going to go ahead and do a simple if statement. So if hit dot collider is not equal, is not, so exclamation point equals equal to null. So if it is not equal null, then we're going to want something to happen. We're going to want another if statement inside of here. If the hit equals, sorry, 2 equals, game object dot find, was it find game object? Yep. Find game object with tag, because we got to make sure it's also an enemy. Find game object with tag equals red unit. So basically we're checking to see if that equals red unit. And if it equals red unit, then we're going to go ahead and use unit animation dot play, and we're going to play our attacking animation, which is going to attack the player. And we're going to use the blue unit 1 attack. Now this has to be the same name as your animation, so if you spelled something wrong, it's not going to work. Make sure this is named the exact name as your animation. Awesome. And then of course, if we're attacking, we're going to change the move speed and equal that to 0. Awesome. All right. Now, of course, what if it doesn't? Then we want to go ahead and do something else. We're going to do an else. Open that up. If we're not hitting the object, then we're going to do unit anim dot capital P play. Within parentheses and quotes, we're going to do the blue unit 1 still. Awesome. Which of course isn't going to play the animation. And we're also going to set our move speed back to the original speed, which I'm going to do equal as negative 0.25f. And you can change this, it's up to you. I think this is a pretty good one though. We might make it slower. Awesome. Now this is still red. Why is it still red? Hit game object tag with tag unit red. If hit, what does it not like? We have that in there and that in there. Unit animation play. Capital F. Looks like it doesn't like that right now. We'll see why. Can it be applied to upper ends raycast hit 2D? Doesn't like something in our raycast. So we have a raycast hit 2D, physics, raycast, fire point dot position, fire point dot right, shoot distance, hittable layer. We'll come back to this. I think it'll like it eventually. Save that for now. Awesome. All right, let's keep going. We'll come back to that. Let's go ahead and create the last function over here. So outside of the void update, we're going to go ahead and do a private void. And we're going to call this on trigger enter 2D. And if we're going to set an if, and we're going to do if collision dot game object dot compare tag equals in quotes, oops, inside the quotes, we're going to set enemy unit 1 weapon, and we'll set that to the health. Now if you remember though, we already did this in the blue base, so let's go ahead and just collect this whole thing we have here, all these if statements. It's the same thing we did. I'm going to copy this, go back here, and I'm going to set this here. There we go. The only thing we got to get rid of course, is all of these string things because we're not editing that. So I'm going to take that away, and I'm going to take that away. Awesome. Save that. Let's go back up to here and see what we did wrong. Red unit hit equals game object dot find game object with tag. Oh, we have an S there. That's why. Get rid of the S. There we go. Awesome. I don't know why that didn't correct itself, but it did. Make sure that S is gone. All right. Awesome. Go ahead, save this. Control S. Let's go ahead. Make sure you got all this down. Let's go back into the game. Let that load. And if we scroll on down here, don't forget we got to set the hittable layer. And if you remember, that is going to be red for us since we're the blue guy. And then the fire point of our attacking, let's go ahead and use, I think it was it the square or was it, no, it was trigger. All right, let's go ahead, drag and drop trigger into there. And then for the square, I'm going to rename that body just so it's easier to know what it is. Awesome. All right, and I think we should be good to try it out. Let's give him some health though. I'm going to set health to 6. Move speed, we did 0.25. I'm going to re-add that. Oh, don't forget to set the animation. And remember, that's from the actual unit itself. So go ahead, drag and drop that into there. And you can keep shoot distance to 0 because that'll be right on the spot. Let's go ahead and start it up, see how it looks. There we go. We got our unit moving. We could make him a little faster, but for now, I'm going to keep it. Let's go ahead and see what happens once he gets to the enemy base. He should attack it, and the score should go down. And there you go. Awesome. So far, so good. All right, that's it for this section. All right, let's go ahead and get started on the red unit now. So it's going to be pretty similar to what we just created for the blue unit. So let's go ahead and start off with duplicating the blue unit right here. I'm going to go ahead and Control D, and then let's go ahead and just move them over real quick. I'm going to put them right across over here. Awesome. Let's go ahead and first change the name. Instead of blue unit 1, we're going to go ahead and change it to red unit 1. There we go. Then of course we're going to go ahead and change the tag to red unit. There we go. Awesome. Everything else can stay the same. We are going to go ahead and get rid of its script though. So right click on it, remove component. We're going to create a new script for this. Let's go ahead and finish some other things though. All right, let's go ahead and see if trigger's all good. Yep, should be good. Beam, this time we're going to go ahead and change this to the enemy U1 weapon. Awesome. All right, then for the body, we're also going to go ahead, click in there. We're going to change the layer blue and select red now. Awesome. Keep everything the same there. Let's go back to the beam. Now, oh, actually, I was changing the wrong guy. I'm going to Control Z to go back on all those changes real quick. All right, now let's go ahead and redo those changes. Make sure you're selecting the right one. Go ahead, change the name to red. There we go. Tag a blue unit. Let's change that to red. Awesome. Let's go ahead and open it up. Oh, looks like it didn't change the name again. Got to hit enter to keep it. All right, there we go. All right, that's what we want. Let's go ahead, open that up. Scroll down. Let's go ahead down to body. Let's change body again to, no, the layer to red. Perfect. Go back to beam. Let's go ahead, change the color of the beam to red. There we go. We're also going to go ahead, we're going to change the good yuan weapon, change that to the enemy one. Awesome. All right, looking good so far. Now we also have to give this a new animation. So let's go ahead and remove the animation and the script again. Go back to red unit 1. Let's go ahead, scroll down. We're going to go ahead, first remove the animator, right click, remove component. Then we're also going to go ahead, remove the script. Awesome. All right, then we're going to go ahead and re-drag and drop the sprite because we're using the wrong sprite right here. Let's go to the project. Let's go ahead and find the red unit. There we go. Drag and drop it. Awesome. Let's go ahead and rotate it now also. So the Y value, let's go ahead and change that to 180. And there you go. Awesome. All right. And if we go to the beam, it should be on this side as well. All right, let's go ahead and recreate the animation. Let's go ahead and right click, or actually click on it here, and then we're going to go ahead, go to animation, create. Let's go ahead and give it a name. And if I remember, I think we're just going to go ahead and call it red, capital U, unit 1 still. Enter. Awesome. We're going to create another one. Red unit 1 attack. Awesome. Enter. And if you remember, we got to go ahead and hit this red button here. Go ahead, select beam. Let's go ahead and reactivate it. Also activate the box collider. Then let's go to the 10 mark and deactivate the beam, deactivate the box collider. Go all the way to 1 here. Let's go ahead and activate it and deactivate it. Awesome. All right, perfect. That's what we want. All right, let's go ahead and select the red unit 1. Now let's go ahead and create a new script for this guy. Let's go ahead and add component. And we're going to go ahead and call this red, capital U, unit 1 script. Hit enter. Enter again. Let that load. All right. Once it loads, let's go ahead and double click it to open it up. Awesome. All right, and again, this is going to be very similar to what we did in the blue unit 1 script. So let's go ahead and just copy everything we need. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy everything in here actually. All the way down. Let's go ahead and Control C, copy everything. Just remember, don't include the last bracket and the opening tags right here. I'm going to go ahead and just repaste it on everything here. Perfect. Awesome. Let's go ahead and scroll up. So the only thing we really do got to change is the speed, because remember, we're not going negative anymore. We're going to go positive. So go ahead, 0 that, save that. We're going to change the animation. So blue unit 1 attack, remember that's red now, so let's go ahead and do red for there. Same thing over here. And then enemy U1 weapon, we're going to go ahead and change that to good. So good U1 weapon over here also. And right here also. Go ahead, save that, Control S. Awesome. Looking good. Red unit 1, red unit. Actually, nope, remember we're going to change this here also to blue unit now because this is going to be the other one. So blue unit here. Awesome, save that. And I think that should be the last thing we need to change. Awesome. All right, go ahead, save all that, minimize, let that load. All right, let's go ahead and scroll on down. Let's go ahead and set some things. I'm going to go ahead and set the health here to 6. I think that's what we set on the other one. Move speed, I'm going to do 0.25. Go ahead, drag and drop the red unit that has the animator into the animation. Go ahead, set the hittable layer to blue. There we go. And then the fire point as well of the trigger. Let's go ahead and drag and drop that. All right. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead now and test it out. We should be working all right. Let me just double check the speed on the blue unit 1. I think it was the negative. Actually, I think we're going to change this to the other one. So let's go ahead. This one should be positive on each one. This one should be negative. So go back to the red unit 1. Change this here to a negative 0.25. Perfect. Let's go ahead and double click red unit 1 script. Scroll on down. Add a negative for the red one here. Perfect. Save that. Let's go ahead and double check our other one here, blue unit 1 script. Make sure that is set to positive. Let's go ahead. There we go. Save that. Awesome. All right, we should be good. Let's go ahead and jump into the game. Let that load. Might take a second or two. All right, let's go ahead and hit play and see what happens. We should get our 2 units attacking each other and then keep moving. Oh, looks like they were wrong though in the directions. Looks like we switched up the speed. Let's go ahead and rechange that. So let's go ahead, red unit 1. I guess this one wasn't a negative. Might be because we turned it around. Let's go ahead, keep that at 0.25. Blue unit, let's go ahead and put a minus there. Just want to make sure that this is working okay. Let's hit play. Let's see what happens. Man, we're still going the wrong way. I think that's because we had it wrong on the code as well. Let's go ahead, back to the code. I'm going to go ahead and add a minus here for the blue unit 1. Save that. Red unit 1, let's go ahead, take away the -1. Save that. Let's go ahead back to the game. Let that load. Let's go ahead and hit play. There we go. Now they're going at each other, and they should animate. There you go. You can see them attacking, and they'll disappear. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and set one of the health down on one of them just to make sure that they go in the right direction. So for blue unit 1, I'm going to go ahead, and we're going to give this guy health of 1 this time, and the other one is at 6 currently. I just want to make sure that the red guy can defeat him and then keep going, and vice versa for the blue guy. All right, they're going at each other. Let's make sure. Yep, looks like he still goes forward, but looks like the animator is still going. We might have not set the still one correctly. So let's go ahead and double check that real quick. Let's go to the red unit 1. Let's go ahead, red unit 1 still. Animator. Make sure we're selecting on here. We might have given it the wrong animator. We have it here. Okay. Red unit 1 still. Let's go back to the original code. Red unit 1. Oh, we forgot an L there. See, make sure you got to double check that, or you might have an issue. Let's double check the other one as well. That one should be good. Nope, we forgot an L there as well. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's go ahead and minimize. Let's try it again. This time it should work. Let's go ahead, hit play. All right, we got them going at each other. Let's go ahead and see if the red one defeats it. Yep, and the animation's back to still. Perfect. Let's go ahead and test out with the blue now. So this time I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to change the health of the blue guy. Let's change it to 6, and then we're going to change the health of the red guy to 1. Let's go ahead, hit play. Let's see if he can attack and keep moving forward. And looks like it did. Now let's see though if it's doing its animation. It was a little fast a second ago, but let's double check. Let's make sure he's attacking. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so far so good. That's it for this section. All right, let's go ahead and get started on the projectile tank unit. So we're going to go ahead and create that real quick. It's going to be very similar to what we did for the units as well. So let's go ahead and I'm going to select the blue unit 1. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this unit. I'm going to drag him right over here real quick. All right, we're going to go ahead and change a couple things. I'm going to open him up first. All right, we're going to go ahead and change his name. Instead of blue unit 1, we're going to go ahead and change that to blue unit 2. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. All right, we can leave most of this the same. What we are going to do is change the sprite itself. So let's go ahead. Let's go to the project. Let's go ahead and find the blue tank. It should be right over here. Drag and drop that in. And then don't forget we need to do that for the body as well. But before we do that, let's go ahead and remove the current animator we have, remove component, and remove the current sprite we have as well. There we go. Awesome. So you should just be left with the box collider, the rigid body, and then the tag of blue unit. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and move on down to the body now. So we can leave most of this the same. Don't forget the layer is blue. We're going to go ahead and we're actually going to go and change the sprite itself. So let's go ahead and find the tank. Drag and drop it in. Awesome. There we go. All right, looking good so far. I like it. All right, another thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and remove the beam. So we're going to go ahead, delete that, because we're going to be shooting an object out instead of carrying one with it. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to be adding a couple things. One, of course, is going to be the triggers itself. So let's go ahead and add that. Let's take our unit itself, though, and back it up a little bit. So we're going to add 3 triggers. We're going to keep the closest one there, but we're going to go ahead, Control D, and we're going to make this one just a little bit farther. And then another one as well. This is basically going to be the pun point if it's getting attacked or if we're attacking. And let's actually make it a little bit closer. So I'm going to make that one a little closer. And we can adjust these later on. That's completely up to you. I just want to make sure that they're pretty close to each other fairly. Yep. And I think I'm going to make that go a little bit. So you can do that as much as you want. As I would just recommend one very close, like the first one, but then the other 2 you can spread out to whatever your liking is. Awesome. So let's go ahead, keep that there. Perfect. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and create the script for the tank. Let's go ahead and add new component. We're going to go ahead and give the script a name. I'm just going to call it blue unit 2 script. Enter. Enter. All right, let that load. I'm going to minimize that. Might take a second or 2. There we go. All right, let's go ahead, double click to open it up again. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to add some variables in here at the top. So let's go ahead and make some room. So the first variable we're going to do is a public int health. We're also going to go ahead and we're going to do a public int shoot dist for distance. We're going to go ahead and do a public layer mask. And I'm going to make this layer mask the hittable layer, semicolon. We're going to go ahead and do a couple public transforms. Let's go ahead and find that public transform, and we'll just call this fire point. And then we can go ahead and do that again and just do one for the second and the third. So I'm going to copy that, paste it underneath 2 more times. I'm going to put a 2 after that one and a 3 after that one. Perfect. Awesome. And then we're also going to go ahead and we're going to do a public bool. This is going to be telling it whether it's going to be shooting or not shooting. Awesome. And then we're also going to do another public float. We're going to call this target time, and we're going to use this for our calculation for shooting equal 1.2f. Awesome. Let's go ahead, semicolon. And the last one we're going to do is a public game object, and we're just going to call this bullet prefab. Awesome. And this is going to be our object that we're actually going to be shooting out. Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and move on down to update. We're going to add a few things. So let's go over here. All right. So starting off in update, we're going to go ahead and do target time. We're going to go ahead and minus equal that to time.delta time. There we go, semicolon. Then underneath that, we're going to go ahead and do an if statement. So if parentheses health is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to go ahead, open that up, and do capital D destroy in parentheses lowercase game object. So of course we run out of health. We don't want this object to exist anymore. Awesome. All right, let's go underneath, still inside of the void update. We're going to go ahead now and do a get component. And actually, I think we've already done this in the other one, so let's just grab it so we don't have to code the whole thing again. I'm going to go to like red unit. Let's go ahead and grab the things we need. So let's go ahead and grab this guy here, the get component we have. It's either in the red unit 1 or in the blue unit 1. We're just going to grab that. We're going to go ahead, paste it there. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Then we're also going to go ahead and grab the hittable layer. So let's go ahead and do that also. And actually, before we do move speed, I think we forgot to put that variable in there. Did we forget it? Yeah, we did. Whoops. Don't forget to put move speed in here as well. Let's go ahead and just add that here. Public float move speed semicolon. Perfect. And if we go back, it should no longer be red. Awesome. All right, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and get the raycast that we have in the other unit scripts as well. It should be right here. Let's go ahead and grab that. Copy. Let's go ahead, go back to blue unit 2 script. And we're actually going to have 3 of these because remember we have 3 raycasts for this one because that's our firing points. So let's go ahead and paste one here first. And we can keep pretty much everything the same except fire point. I think I might have spelled that wrong. Fire point should be the fire point we have. I think I just forgot something. Oh, it was capital P. That's why. Well, we can just change that so we don't have to redo it for each one. Let's go ahead, change that for each one over here. Capital P, and capital P. Awesome. Make sure you got that there, and that no longer should be red. Awesome. All right, now let's go ahead and do the next one. And simply enough, we're going to go ahead and just copy the raycast hit. We're going to paste it below. And we're just going to go ahead and change the fire point to the fire point 2. Let's go ahead and copy that, paste it here. Keep everything else the same. We're going to copy this whole line again. Let's go ahead, below, paste. Change this to fire point 3. And this again to fire point 3. Awesome. All right, one thing we do need to add, of course, is change the name of hit. So I'm going to put hit 2 here and then hit 3 here just to make it simple. Awesome. All right, save that. Perfect. Now, of course, we need to calculate the hit. So if you remember, we did that as well in the other script. It was this if hit. So let's copy that. Let's go back to our blue unit. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put this right here. Give it some brackets, open it up. Now, of course, though, we have multiple of these. So we're going to add a couple different ones in here as well. So we're going to do an OR, and an OR is just the long line symbols. It should be on the opposite slash, so right above your enter key. It should be the other one, the shift of this should just be that long line, as you can tell. It's not this one, it's the other one. All right, there you go. So make sure you have 2 of those for an OR statement. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and copy this whole thing again. So let's copy this. Let's go ahead and paste it here. Now we're going to do the 2 1, so put a 2 after hit. Let's copy the whole thing here, including the OR brackets. Space, paste it there. Let's do the 3 right here. Perfect. Awesome. All right, make sure you got that in there. I like it. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do another if statement in there, just like we did with the last one. So let's go ahead, jump into here. This was this if statement here. Let's grab this guy. It's for the find game object with tag. So let's go ahead, paste that there. All right. So again, we're going to go ahead and change this to red unit. Make sure you got the right one, red unit. Now, because we're going to have multiple hits in here, we're going to have that OR again. All right. So let's go ahead and do the one for hit 2. So I'm going to do ORs again. Copy this whole thing we got here. Going to copy that. Go over here, paste it. Now, of course, change that to 2. Let's go ahead and copy the whole thing with the ORs as well. Let's go ahead, paste it there. Make sure this is 3. Perfect. All right, looking good. I like it. All right, make sure you got that whole if statement there. Don't forget to give it some curly brackets. Open it up. Awesome. All right, now simply enough, we're going to go ahead and set that true bool to true, semicolon, and then we're also going to go ahead and set move speed equal that to 0. Awesome. All right. So now, of course, if we're not doing this, we're going to have an else statement. So let's go ahead and add that else. Open that up. In the else statement, simply enough, we're going to set move speed to our move speed that we want. And I'm just going to set that to 0 or negative 0.25f, semicolon. Awesome. And then below that, we're going to go ahead and set shoot equal that to false. Semicolon. Awesome. All right, make sure you got that down. Perfect. All right, and we're going to have one more if statement inside the void update. Let's make some room for it. Let's go ahead and do an if. Give it some parentheses. In this if statement, simply enough, we're going to do if shoot equals true. And then we're going to use 2 and symbols. And if you can't find it, it should be on your 7. So go ahead, shift and hit 7 to get that. Let's go ahead and do target time. And we're going to go ahead and say if target time is less than equal to 0.0f. Awesome. So why did we do that? Well, because we don't want to have our tank shooting instantly just as many as possible. We want to have a little bit of space in between each shot, which makes it a little more realistic. Awesome. It would be unfair to the player if we just had the tanks just be able to destroy anything in its path. So it's nice to give it a little break, and you can adjust the time. If you want to adjust the speed of the time that we have for our target time, you can totally do that as well. Awesome. So then again, inside this if, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use initiate. There we go. Initiate, parentheses, bullet prefab, comma, fire point 3 dot position, and then we're going to do a comma, and then fire point 3. And actually, I think this is the first one, so we're not going to use the third one. Actually, we're going to use the first one because the first one's going to be the closest to the tank, and that's what we want to use. All right, so fire point dot rotation, comma, transform. Awesome. And then semicolon at the end of that. Awesome. And then once we initiate it, of course, we're going to go ahead and reset our target time. Let's go ahead and set that back to what we want. I'm going to do 1.2f. And you can adjust that as you want, but I think that's pretty good. And then we also have to set shoot to false as well. Awesome. All right. Perfect. Make sure you got that down. It looks good. All right, let's go ahead and now do the damage. And I think we can just copy that. So I'm going to go ahead, save what I got. Let's go to the blue unit 1, scroll on down here, and we should just be able to copy this entire void trigger that we have for the blue unit. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back over here, and simply enough, I'm just going to paste that after the void update ending bracket. But there still should be one below it right there. Perfect. Let's save that. Perfect. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and set this up now. Let's go ahead and minimize. Let that load, might take a second. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and set some of these variables. So scroll on down on your tank. Let's go ahead and set health. I'm going to set that to 9. Shoot distance, keep that at 0. Hittable layer, because this is the blue tank, we want to hit the red layer. Awesome. Then the fire point, remember the first one should be this one here, the trigger. Let's go ahead and, I forgot to drag in down here. Let's drag and drop it in. Perfect. Let's do the second one. There we go. And then the last one. Awesome. All right. Other than that, I think we should be good up. Don't forget the bullet prefab. And then the move speed, I think we set move speed to, was it 0 or was it negative? Let's go see. It was, move speed was, yep, negative 0.25. I'm going to copy that. Let's go back to the game. It's not the game. Let's go here. Paste that. Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead. And what we're missing now, though, is just the bullet prefab. So let's go ahead and create that real quick. Super simple also. Let's go ahead and create it. So I'm going to simply just right click, or can't do that. I'm going to close these up and right click in here. Go to create empty, or no, create object. We're going to use the sprites square. Now make sure you drag it outside of our current tank. We don't want it there. I'm just going to put it in between here. Just make sure it's not inside something. I'm going to go ahead and just call this blue bullet. Let's go ahead and actually make it blue. Use like a nice light blue. Let's go ahead and shrink it. I'm going to go ahead and just make it like, let's see what 0.3 looks like. It's a little big still. 0.2 and 0.2. There we go. Let's do that. Awesome. All right. A couple things we're going to set for this though. Nothing crazy. We are going to go ahead and give it a tag, and we're going to use the enemy unit tag 2. So we need to create that, or the good unit tag 2. So let's go ahead. Let's add that. Good U for unit 2. And this is weapon, capital W. Awesome. Let's go ahead, save that. And we should be good there. Let's go ahead, reselect the weapon. Let's go ahead, set that there. Perfect. All right. Now, of course, we need to give it a box glider. So let's go ahead, add a box glider 2D. We're going to set that to trigger. Don't forget. And then we are going to go ahead also and give it a rigid body 2D. And we are going to set the rigid body 2D to a gravity scale of 0. Awesome. All right, that's good for there. Perfect. And let's go ahead and create a simple little script for this. It's not going to be very big. Add a component. We'll just go ahead and call this blue bullet script. Create that new script. Perfect. Let that load. All right, now let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and double click on the blue bullet script. All right, we're going to add a couple things in here. Nothing too big though. First thing we're going to do is add a public float. And simply I'm going to set speed of this to, let's do negative 0.5 f semicolon. All right. And then simply enough, we're just going to go ahead and do a simple move script. So we're going to do transform dot translate. And then we're going to go ahead, give it some parentheses and then double parentheses. We're going to do transform dot right. Then we're going to go ahead and times that by the negative speed. And then we're going to times that by capital T time dot delta time. Awesome. Semicolon. Perfect. And then simply we're going to do an on trigger collision also. And we can just go ahead and copy that from the tank. I'm going to copy this trigger. I'm going to go ahead back to our bullet script. I'm going to paste this. And I'm going to take away all of them but one. And we're going to go ahead and do red unit for this. All right. And then simply we're just going to go ahead and destroy the game object if it runs into it. Destroy lowercase game object. Awesome. All right, semicolon, we should be good. I like it. Make sure you got all this down, save that, Control S. Awesome. All right, let that load. Might take a second. All right, let's go ahead now and make this into a prefab. To do that, pretty simple. All you really got to do is just drag and drop it into here. Perfect. And then you can go ahead and set things in it as well over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete the one that's already in the game. I'm going to click on our blue unit 2, scroll down. Let's go ahead and drag and drop the prefab into here. Perfect. And let's go ahead and see if it works. I'm simply going to go ahead and move him down here. And let's go ahead and try it out. Let's hit play and see what happens. And there you go. See, it's shooting. We might need to lower down the damage if you want to get a little more hits on there. We could do that. Let's go ahead and select our blue unit. And I think the hits might actually be edited in the red guy script. So let's go ahead, open that up. Let's go ahead. Actually, you know what? Instead of that, simply enough to test it, let's go ahead and just increase his health. So, oh, his health's at 1. That's probably why. So I'm going to set that to 10, just so we can see the tank actually hit him for multiple times. Let's go ahead, hit play. And you can adjust the speed of the tank. You can adjust the bullet speed. That's all up to you. And as you can tell, he did some damage. Looks good to me. Let's see what happens when it gets attacked. Let's make sure it can get deleted. I'm going to move the player backwards a little bit so that these two guys can attack each other this time. Put them in front. Let's hit play. Looks like the tank stops and he attacks the player. Pretty good. And let's see if the tank can get defeated. It might have not, because I think I had more health. Let's see if the health went down at least. And the health blue unit, nope, that's not it. It's this one. The health is 5. Let's make sure that it wasn't originally at 5. Yep, it was at 9. Awesome. All right, everything seems to be working. That's it for this section.